Throughout time, people across the world told each other tales of how they came to be, of heroes and monsters, romance and tragedy, death and rebirth. Mythology helped shape the ancient world, explaining the unexplainable. This is Mythology Unleashed. Every culture on Earth has a dragon lurking somewhere in its mythology. The dragons of Asia tend to be beings of immense power, connected to nature and the very cosmos. The ancient peoples of the Philippines had their own gigantic serpent of mythical power, one capable of causing earthquakes and eclipses, and large enough to swallow the moon as easily as a snake swallows a mouse. Bakunawa. Across the islands of the Philippines, there are a number of differing stories about Bakunawa. And yet, there are a number of similar recurring traits about the creature and its story. In all versions, Bakunawa is a massive dragon, one of the largest in all mythology, often bearing serpentine qualities. And in all stories, Bakunawa manages to swallow one or more moons right out of the sky, leading him into conflict with both mankind and the gods. In Cebuano lore, the supreme god Bathala set in the sky 7 moons to illuminate the nighttime world, and to stay off the darkness a bit longer. Gazing up from his lair in the ocean, Bakunawa was enchanted by the beautiful light of the moons, and sought them for himself. Bakunawa rose from the depths and flew into the sky, and began to devour the moons as he came upon them. As the night sky grew darker, the people of Earth were terrified, and called upon Bathala for aid in the matter. Bathala bade the people of Earth to make a great ruckus to frighten away the covetous dragon. So just as Bakunawa prepared to devour the final moon, the people began to bang on pots and pans, stamp their feet on the floor, play on drums and percussion instruments, and shout at the top of their lungs. The great noise filled the dragon's ears, and was stricken with confusion, which quickly turned to panic. Bakunawa retreated back into the sea, and Bathala planted bamboo on the surface of the moon, seen today as the spots on the moon's surface. And whenever the great serpent again tried to swallow the moon, signaled by an eclipse, the people of Earth would remember to raise a ruckus to scare off Bakunawa. In other tellings, Bakunawa's theft of the moons centered around his sister, a being in the form of a large sea turtle, who would visit a certain island in order to lay her eggs. When the people discovered the location of the island, the sea turtle soon died, never to return, infuriating Bakunawa and driving him to rebel against the people and the gods for driving his sister to death. Bakunawa took his revenge by taking the moons from the sky. The moon deities found out about the loss of their siblings to the jaws of Bakunawa, and began to fight back. But the dragon's might was not to be underestimated. In the end, Bakunawa was defeated by the combined efforts of Bathala, Sidapa, Libulan, and the people of Earth, who banged their pots and instruments once more. These are but a selection of the stories surrounding the mighty being that is Bakunawa. coming from stories of oral tradition passed down from generation to generation, and only within the last century or so having been made available through printed words. Bakunawa's legend changes from region to region and story to story. But in all depictions, Bakunawa is honored and feared as the powerful force of nature that he is. Whenever a lunar eclipse took place, or the earth began to tremble or the seas rose, Bakunawa was believed to be behind it. Many swords of the region had Bakunawa's likeness carved into their hilts, in order to bestow the presence and power of the dragon onto the warriors when they engaged in combat. Dragons throughout Asian folklore are both greatly respected and feared, and Bakunawa is no exception to that rule.